Everyone. My name's Angie. I am with New Ventures VC. I'm the executive director. And with me today, I have Clara, who's behind the scenes here, letting people in, and she'll answer any questions in the chat. And I have Floyd Sijmons here, who is our volunteer mentor. We say Wrangler, just more fun than manager. And he'll talk briefly about kind of the mentors and the volunteers we work with here in the competition. My role today is to just give you a walkthrough on what the competition is about, bit of the eligibility, a bit of the other events and happenings and programs we do here in the ecosystem, and of course, answer any of your questions. So let's hop in, shall we? Okay, so New Ventures VC. BC, I always laugh at this. BC's largest and longest running tech competition. I'm always like, is it like a good, is it a thing to advertise that you've been here a long time? But anyways, here we are. We are BC's biggest competition. This is our 26th annual competition. And every year it's different. So every year is super fun. I've been around for about 15 or 16 of them. So I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of different ideas progress. In a nutshell, the competition is 4 rounds. We go March through to usually the end of September. There is an application deadline. It is March 12th. More on that in a little bit. Um, and kind of the carrot of the competition is, of course, a chance to win up to $250,000 of cash, non-dilutive cash in prizes. However, we also try to offer education, networking, exposure, access to expertise, feedback on your company. The hope is always, no matter how far you progress in the competition, you will get some form of value. Okay, so thank you, pardon me. And that's kind of what I alluded to this stage. We are at our essence our competition, but we are hopefully always giving you some value and building the community and making startups collectively stronger. So I'm going to go through. And yes, some of our past alumni, again, we've been around 26 years. So some of these names are old, some are new. Last year's winter winner is Spin Financial. They're listed at the top there. And lots of different sectors, as you can see as well. And this is us at our awards last year, so you can join us too. Okay, so I'll go through kind of a few different components of the competition before getting into the more of the structure. So we always launch the competition, and we just launched last week with education and networking opportunities. So every Monday between now and May, we will be doing education topic. We always call this a bit of a boot camp for startups. You can sign up for the entire series, or you can sign up for the topics that interest you. And we cover a whole wide range of topics. And next Tuesday, if you're in Vancouver, we also have a kickoff networking event. And we've also invited 3 or 4 past winners or top 10 companies from last year to speak about both their experience and also where they're at as a company as well. And that's open to everyone. All startups are welcome. If you've entered and you want to start meeting the community, you're welcome. Or if you're still on the fence thinking about, is the timing right? Is it not right? Also welcome. So come on down to that. And I think this QR code here will give you access to all the upcoming events. Because we have a lot. And I should also point out we have our next education topic is with angel investor Mike Volker. And again, all our education topics are available either in person in Vancouver and then by hybrid Zoom. I'm only pausing because we had some technical issues this week for those who attended. But in a perfect world, always hybrid. Okay. Another big part of the competition that people join us for is mentorship. So the mentorship gets a bit deeper with as the deeper we get into the competition, of course, but there's a little bit of mentorship available throughout. So Floyd, is this your slide? Am I taking your thunder? Do you want to speak to this? Or are you
Mine is
later?
12. Later. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll talk about it then. Feel free to pop in if you need. So basically, when you're in the earlier rounds, you get access to kind of a one-on-one session with the mentor to get feedback on your round two submission. And then as you get later on, you get access to pitch coaching. And then if you get into the top 25, you get introduced to 2 to 3 mentors that are dedicated to your company. And the support can be either to help you with your competition or also to just help you with your business. And then we also do panels. So you have your 2 to 3 kind of personal mentors, and then you have the opportunity to meet a panel of another 5 or 6 mentors along the way.
Maybe one thing to add there. Those companies that do not make it to the top 25, all of them can still request a bonus round mentoring. And I will match you with a volunteer. And I'll talk a little bit about the volunteers in a minute, how awesome they are, for a 1 hour call with guidance. So anyone who can join this competition can get access to those kinds of volunteers and mentors, no matter how far you make it.
Great. Thank you, Floyd. All right. Because kind of a side thing, but I always forget to mention it, and they're quite popular. So if you join any of our programs, including the competition, we have a library of kind of perks that we've collected over the years from various providers. So some of the programs are listed here. And if you as a startup want to benefit from a perk from a program you don't see here and they have a program, you're always welcome to ask us. And if we qualify, we'll apply and get that perk for you. And of course, because it's a competition, so there are prizes. So top prize, it's $110,000 Innovate BC first prize package. That's typically, it changes a little bit here and there, but it's typically around $80,000 of cash. And then the rest is in-kind services, services like legal services or financial services, hopefully things and products and people you can meet that will be of value to you. So the total prize envelope is usually around $250,000, and the prize money is non-dilutive, which means no investment is taken. You get to use it all directly onto your business. We're not on the cap table. Okay, so in terms of how the competition works, this is probably our most detailed slide. So currently we're in that round 1 phase on the left-hand side. This is just an online entry. There's a $200 fee as well, and that's for your entire company. So if you have 10 people in your company, you can come to all the events. It's still one fee. This is an online form that you complete on our website. We're checking for basic eligibility, and I'll mention the eligibility next. If you're eligible, you move on to round 2. So round 2 and 2.5, we spend a little bit longer. This is where you will utilize the education sessions and networking sessions to help you build a 5-page submission, written submission, and then a 60-second optional video pitch. But we find most people will do the 60-second video pitch. This gets put into a panel of judges. So everyone gets reviewed by 5 to 6 judges. And those judges will score your submission on a rubric that you'll have in advance as well, and also hopefully a few sentences of feedback for you. So I always call companies, it's great because it gives you 5 to 6 different perspectives on your company. And in most cases, sometimes they all agree, sometimes they don't, but hopefully you can find some patterns, you can find some feedback. Often when we talk to accelerators, they'll say, oh yeah, the company entered and they got the same feedback I've been telling them, but now they're listening, so that's great. Sometimes you need reinforcement of feedback. And in addition to that competition side, we will continue to have seminars and networking and pitch opportunities as well. At the end of round 2, that's when we do our biggest cut. We cut down to 40. So the top 15 of those 40 advance to round 3. And then the next 25 do a pitch in front of a jury to advance. And I think 15 of those companies advance. So that's how we get into round 3 or top 25. Top 25, then this is the stage where you get paired with personal mentors. There's additional education and and mentor panels. I think we're also going to be adding some founder roundtables at this stage as well. So you as startup founders can interact and learn from each other as well. And then from the competition perspective, you hopefully with your mentor's support will complete a 8-page plan and financials. And that gets sent to a different jury and that gets scored on a different rubric, which we will share with you. And from those 25, the top 10 advance into the final round. So once you get to the final round, the key piece there for the competition is you do a pitch to the final round jury, and that jury is the same as round 3, and they will determine the winners of the competition in terms of the prizes. But really, if you're in the top 10, you get a lot of exposure to the startup community, investors. If you're raising, you don't have to be raising to do well in this competition. Um, and we also do a lot of special events specific for the top 10 and 25, including a demo day and profiles and that kind of thing. And the top 10 do their pitch, and then the winners get revealed at an awards ceremony, usually at the end of September. Okay, so we have alluded to this already. So this is
Yeah, let's
slide
do that.
12, Floyd, on
Yeah.
mentorship. So I will let you speak to kind of what is completely the success of this competition. The reason why this competition's been here for 26 years is because we have the best community of volunteers who give back to support companies. So Floyd, over to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is pretty consistently ranked as the most valuable contribution to competition participants by their own feedback. We have a list of over 450 plus volunteers active in the competition in one form or another, and over 350 of those I end up assigning to companies in one round or another. They are judges and mentors, and we're lucky in a sense that, we've been around a long time. There's lots of companies that go through it and lots of executives that want to stay in touch with the tech ecosystem and then come back to help. And because of that, we can also filter quite a bit, as in these people are all senior, they've been around, they're CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, they've founded companies. Many of them are also competition winners from the past. There's tons of VC people in it, PhD people in it. IREP ITAs are in those volunteers, and professors at universities that are expert matters at specific topics. And we also constantly refresh this and add lots of people to it. We have loads of people that did recent ventures as well as AI experts now in the volunteer roster as well. For many companies that join the competition, this is most seen as most valuable because they cannot necessarily get access to that high level of expertise on their own. And we enable that connection for them, particularly if you're early on. Having an expert weigh in that already knows the industry can make a massive difference in a company's overall chance of success. So we put a lot of effort into this. I've also gone to serious lengths to add lots of keywords to all of these people with regards to what industries they're from. So I can, for example, match someone from the wastewater industry with a company that's now working in wastewater management. It's to that level. So this is really a big thing that everyone gets access to. If you're a top 25 company, as mentioned, you get 3 mentors assigned to you for the remaining duration of the competition. You also get access to mentors and feedback, the same experts in rooms, in pitch events, and you get to meet all of them or many of them throughout that process. If you are a company that doesn't make it the top 25, you can still request a bonus round, as mentioned, and I will match you up with the best expert I can get you for a 1 hour call that offers some guidance and things like that. Those mentors, like in terms of how involved they get, it really differs. I find that if I match up 3 to the top 25, for example, you might have a better connection with 1 or 2 of them. I tend to do a technical person, a generalist person, and someone who can specifically help you with your journey at your time based on what information I have. And it goes as far, and sometimes it's just a couple of calls, very helpful. Sometimes the mentors get super involved in the business, and occasionally investment happens after the competition and all sorts of stuff. These can be really great connections, basically. So yeah, if you come looking for money, also think about this. This can be even better.
No guarantees though, Floyd.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I see some questions about eligibility, and that is the next slide. So, core eligibility here. This is a BC competition, so you should be a BC-based startup with the majority of activity in BC. That does not mean your customers have to be in BC. It just means most of your operations. You're building a company in BC. This is a we ourselves, New Ventures, is a nonprofit, but we do get a lot of support on this with our title sponsor, Innovate BC, which is part of the province of BC. And part of the reason is the objective is to hopefully find those next big anchor companies of the future. So building in BC is a core eligibility criteria. Second, privately held, not incorporated for more than 5 years typically. You don't have to be incorporated. We get a lot of early stage who haven't incorporated yet. So in this case, this bullet does not apply to you. Typically 5 years is the threshold. We do make some exceptions for kind of the most classic examples would be a company that has been around maybe 10 years, but they have pivoted substantially, brand new product, basically restarting. We typically will grant an exception for that. Another one that often happens is consulting firm, been around 20 years, but they've just started a product that they want to spin out. So as long as the core piece of the company or the technology you want to enter is in the spirit of the 5 years, we'll typically accept it. But if you are incorporated more than 5 years, we just ask you to check in with us and we can clear you on that. Raised in less than $1 million of non-grant funding from any source as of the competition deadline, which is March 12th this year. So that would be dilutive investment capital. If you have academic grants, research grants, those typically don't count towards the million. And the application form and then the entry fee. So the application form is just an online form. To be perfectly honest, it's very long. It's a little winding. We ask a lot of questions, but it's not difficult. You just have to complete it. And we will let you know, like if we have questions, if we're not sure about your eligibility, we will contact you by email to follow up. If you're not eligible, we'll let you know and we will refund your $200 fee. It's really only if you go through the competition that the $200 fee applies. Other frequently asked questions, and then I'll jump into the chat here as well. So registration process questions, I kind of just said about the online form. The other thing I like to say is you don't have to spend too long on the form because it is primarily an eligibility check, and we'll follow up with you if we have questions. So don't spend too much time on the online form. Save your time for the round 2 5-page submission because that's the one that's more fully judged. Stage of ventures that we see. So we get around 180, 200-ish companies a year. All pretty wide range. I would say the majority, Floyd, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority are going to be pre-revenue. But there's always some that have revenue, and there's always some, most are going to be pre-investment, but there are going to be some who have raised investment, but they're under that $1 million mark. And if you've raised investment and you've not raised investment, that's not at the early stages. That's not necessarily an indicator of how well you'll do. It's just a data point, really. So it's a pretty wide range stage. We do have, I'd say, idea stage companies enter. We have companies who are still working on their prototype. We have companies with their prototype. Is an idea stage company going to win the competition? I would say the odds are likely not. Never say never. We certainly have stealth companies who have done well, but typically, a well-formed idea with a prototype or at least a path, a product plan is typically, the early stage. Why enter?
There's been some exceptions there, right? I mean, like particularly in deep tech, life sciences, or long R&D trajectory, clean tech. If it's a really strong team and you have an awesome technology, but there's some years of R&D ahead, you might do really well in the competition still. Syracuse did really well 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and that's often in the pre-revenue side, especially with those with more of a deep research focus. Those are definitely there's no issue with those at all. And all sectors are welcome. The only requirement is you need to have some form of innovation, some form of intellectual property. That doesn't mean you have to have a patent, but it does mean you have to be doing something unique. So if you are, as an example, a company selling something using Shopify as your platform to sell, you're likely not eligible because you're using existing technology. But if you are if you are selling something and you're using your own custom platform, or you're using the Shopify, but you've added 5 or 6 different customizations and made a unique change, that would qualify. That's more on the edge of eligibility. But on the other end, AI companies, fintech companies, quantum computing companies, clean tech companies, there's usually some form of novelness to the tech. It does have to be tech though, but it's a broad definition of tech. We get food companies, we get a pretty wide range. Should I enter this year? So again, this is kind of related to the stage. So people enter for many different reasons. Um, if you're on that earlier side, a lot of people will enter. And I should also add, you can join our education and our networking events for free, without having to enter the competition. So if you just want to kind of get to know the ecosystem, meet some of the people in the ecosystem, you can certainly attend all our events. You're very welcome. A lot of people do that and then come back the following year and enter the competition. Others will enter the competition because they want to win and they want to get the exposure along the way. Others will enter the competition. I just talked to someone the other day. They said, well, I'm early, but I really want to enter just to go through the process, and I need the structure. I need the structure and the deadlines to answer the questions, because the hope is the questions we're answering you are not a distraction. They're hopefully questions you need to figure out for your business anyway. So it's kind of a way for you to think about it, put some time around that. So various reasons on ways to enter.
If this helps, like
Um,
there's definitely a list of companies that join multiple years, because as long as you meet
yeah,
the requirements, that's totally cool. We're still within 5 years, etc. And some of them see that as a bit of an education journey in a way that they come in early with ideas, they get a bunch of feedback, they go back, they iterate, they make some traction, they make learnings, they come back the next year and basically tell everyone what they've learned since and what the new plan is, and then get totally new feedback on that and basically iterate like that year over year. And that's been very successful for some companies, also to the point that some of them end up in top 10 that way.
yeah, for sure. You can enter up to 3 times, so long as you don't win a prize. And otherwise you're out. Well, you're one and done. But that's because you don't need us anymore. um, and that is often the case. We often will get a 5-10% of companies are repeats, so they'll come back multiple years. Um, Typically, a company, if they've advanced in some form, more traction, more agreements, that they've progressed the tech, company can do quite well when they come back. If there hasn't been too much progress from year to year, then you might not do as well. So some companies will actually even enter year one, skip a year, and then enter year three. So there's lots of different ways that it can be done. How much? Oh, I went too far. How much work will this be? Again, what you put in is what you get out, as they all say. If you've been pitching a lot, like if you're already in the circuits trying to raise money, doing government grants, in an accelerator, we have lots of wonderful accelerator programs here that will be asking you similar questions. You might already have answered some of the questions we're going to ask you. We're not asking you anything um, super out of the ordinary. Um, and that's a good base. In the startup world, things are always changing, so it's a good base for you. So maybe it'll be a little bit less time on the entries perspective. If this is your first time through, it might take you a while to go through the questions. That said, there are lots of tools and guides and education to support now, of course, as well. Um, and then I always encourage those to take advantage in terms of time. Access your mentor. Take advantage as long as you can. I'll take all the hours the mentorship will give you. Come to the education, come meet other founders. That does take time, but if it makes sense for you, you can get some good value out of that as well. In terms of what makes a winning venture, uh, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a venture competition. They're looking for a company with the most potential to be scalable success down the line. So winners typically are going to have a pretty big market opportunity and a good team and plan to convince the jury that you're going to be one of the winning companies that can take advantage of that market. Usually it's got to have a technology that everyone's excited about, and typically the founders are good communicators, coachable, have a good plan. Um, but at the end of the day, every winner is different and everyone's got a slightly different makeup. But I don't know, Floyd, anything to add to that?
Yeah, maybe just in general, like obviously it can be challenging to compare a life sciences company with 10-year R&D trajectory to a SaaS company that's already 2 years in revenue. Right? How do you decide which one's better? So you're sort of forced to do, well, first of all, I assign mentors, volunteers, and judges based on expertise. So, no one's like, no idea what this company's about, basically. So there's that. The other bit is basically how do you combine them all? Is by looking at it a bit like an investor hat. Which one is most likely to be successful in the market? Which one would I give my money to if I had to? And a big de-risker that an investor looks at, just for that everyone knows, is how likely is it someone's going to pay you for your solution? So if you have good narrative and at least a good narrative on, I know I've done customer research, people want to pay this, I have LOIs, talk about the commercialization of it. That's usually the biggest de-risker. If it seems plausible to a judge, you're going to make a bunch of money with this, and you can absolutely sell this because you already have traction or you really know how to get this traction. That makes a big difference in your overall likelihood of success in this competition, particularly later stages.
Yeah, and I think Eunice, I see a question here about the likelihood of pre-revenue, pre-investment startup making it into the top 10. Um, if it's a compelling story and plan, it's possible. Like last year we had at least two or three, right, Floyd? I
Yeah,
would say that.
several. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the companies don't have revenue. They'll have letters of intent. They'll have um, lots of good positive references. But yeah, some are going to have some pilot customers. Some will have revenue. It does vary, but definitely not all of them. Okay, so a few more slides, and I think it looks like Clara and Floyd are doing a good job answering questions. But if you have any more questions, put them in the chat. Like I said, we're a nonprofit. We have lots of great sponsors that make this competition happen year after year. Many of them have been with us 26 years. Innovate BC is our title sponsor. EY, Fasken, M2M Tech are our gold. Silver, RBCX, SFU Beauty School, Fantech Angel Network, and then basically a whole community of various organizations are our bronze and media sponsors. We really try to collaborate with as many organizations as possible because they're all great organizations, and the more we work together, the stronger the ecosystem. But we do more than just the competition. So I'll just share a few things that might be of interest to you here. We do a whole lot in the world of intellectual property. So we manage a program called Accelerate IP, which is currently closed, but will hopefully reopen in the future. And we also do an education program called IP Pathways. So if you're trying to figure out your IP strategy, we have a lot of free education programs to support you on that. We are also building on our way to the Web Summit conference in May, a capital raising index. So if you are raising between now and May, and you complete our form and you qualify, we will add you to our list of companies raising. And we're building that list basically from the ground up right now. And once it's further populated, we'll be sharing it with investors and partners to help hopefully get companies a bit more exposure on that front. And we also have a whole bunch of asynchronous online startup education. So there is a QR code there that should take you to our programs page, and feel free to ask more questions on that. Otherwise, I think that's it. So yeah, the deadline for the competition is March 12th. If you're still on the fence or you just want to check things out before deciding, we do have that event next Tuesday, March 3rd, and that will have, I think, 4 of the top 10 from last year will be there. So you can talk directly to the companies. I'll be there. Floyd will be there. Mentors, volunteers will all be there. So come on down, get your questions answered, or just come check things out. I think that's about it from us. Anyone else have anything to add? Otherwise, if you have questions, feel free to take yourself off mute or put it in the chat. I'll take a couple minutes here and then we'll we'll be done here. Uh, yes,
Hi,
Ray, go
just
ahead.
a follow up question with the one that I put in the chat that Floyd had answered.
Okay.
The first product that I have is going to be a very smaller market share. It's a niche product, but it's more flushed out with the eye on future developments. So that would probably be, given what you said, Floyd, focus on that as part of this competition and worry about the next going forward. And then the secondary follow up question, which is kind of off topic, but with respect to the IP content that you had from the previous iterations, is some of that available online, like in a library, or somehow accessible from, similar to like last video? We had the video from the year before because we had the tech issues.
Yes. So we have kind of standalone online IP modules, and then we have a kind of a certification program, which is a live delivery. It's either in person or online. Um, but we're actually this Friday going to be recording a fully online version that you can take on your own time. So that will be made available soon. So if you go to the IP Pathways program page. There's dates of all those sessions, and all everything new gets posted there. But there's lots available.
Okay, thanks. That's great.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think Floyd, you answered Eunice's question about having a solid team. So I will say on this, I'm not sure, Floyd, how you answered, but the question is around solo entrepreneurs less likely to advance. Do you need a solid team? So I would say team is a factor, but it really is more of a factor once you get to the end. And remember, it's a 6-month competition. So often along like, and that's often why our $1 million investment cap is as of the application deadline, because often companies will raise while the competition's on. A lot can change. People pivot, company names change, people build their teams. So a lot will happen in that front, just on your front. And then also, what often the general thing that, say, the jury likes to see is, yeah, you can be a solo founder, you can be a 1 or a 2 person team, but you need to have a clear plan of how you're going to build the future team. What do you need? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you need to fill? When are you going to fill them? If you have a really good picture of how you're going to build out your team and with what expertise, especially in the earlier rounds, um, that's often, I'd say, taken as pretty good sign that you have a really clear plan of what you're going to do with your company, and that's really what your intent is in those earlier rounds is sharing your tech, sharing the how you think you're going to create the business around the tech, and your understanding of the competitive landscape and how you're going to execute. So if you don't have the entire team built out, you're still looking for co-founders, that's fine. And oftentimes, sometimes we've had companies meet each other at events and they're doing something kind of similar, and they'll merge. They'll become co-founders and create one company instead of two. So there's lots of things that can happen.
Yeah, just to give maybe a little bit of flavor there. So, I mean, overall, the investor had like, which one would I give my money to, basically, as a judging criteria. And then you look at lots of risks and lots of things that make it more likely or less likely that this company will be very successful. How many people you have on your team and your co-founders and what gaps you have is a factor, but there's many other factors. A few years ago, we had a solo founder winner, but this guy was maybe alone, but he did millions of sales in like months. So, if I'm going to give my investment to anyone, someone doing millions in sales, please take my money. So many factors. It depends, basically.
Yes, I would like to clarify though, because sometimes people think if you have to raise investment to do well in this competition, and that's not true. In most cases, if you're going to scale, if your plan is to scale, and we are looking for scalable companies, you more than likely need to take investment at some point, but not often right away. Like one of our ex-alumni, Jane Software, many of you have used Jane. They didn't raise money for years and years after the competition. They didn't need to. They had partners, they had advisors, they had revenue. Um, and yeah, so we've had some winners. And that's the other thing, right? Like we don't have a revenue cap. So if for some reason you're a startup making tons of revenue, you do technically qualify. That said, we don't see a lot of this. So it does vary.
Yeah. And you're not competing with
Um,
companies that already have 10 million in funding, right? Because that's our criteria. We're sort of skewing a little bit
yeah,
earlier. So you're among similar company, basically.
yeah. All right. So unless there's any more questions, I will leave you on this page for the competition. Newventuresbc.com is the website. All the events, all the info is all there. If you have questions, though, programs at newventuresbc.com. Maybe here, Clara, if you can type it in. My computer's freezing. But if you can
Yes.
type it in, just send us an email. We will get back to you. And that's all right. Oh, and sorry, I see one more question from Eunice. Hopefully you can hear me. My computer looks frozen. Which is around the video quality. It doesn't have to be anything polished. It just has to be well lit. Use your iPhone. Be clear, be concise. That's all you need. Don't spend any money on special lighting or production. All right, so I'll leave you there, and everyone have a great afternoon, and have any questions, get in touch anytime. Thanks everyone. Have a good one.